Good day, everyone. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Robert Rennie. Today's discussion is an absolute honor for me. It's an absolute honor for me to be a part of this discussion, particularly because for those of you who know me, you would know that presently I serve as a music teacher at the Canon Laurie Anglican Primary School. And this particular discussion is centered around music. Today, we have some esteemed guests, and I say esteemed guests. Some of them I have known for quite a considerable amount of time. Others I'm getting to know today, and hopefully by the end of the discussion, you will get to know them as well. Today we are speaking with members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band. And I can tell you, for what I've seen over the years with the band's performance, I can tell you it is always a pleasure for me to hear the Royal St. Lucia Police Band play. So let's get right into the discussion, and let's get right into our guest. I would allow them to introduce themselves, and we will start with our guest to my extreme right. And I will allow him to introduce himself and just tell us a little about himself.
Yeah. First of all, let me say happy anniversary to all members of the police band, both past and present. My name is Steele, the former drum major of the Royal Central Police Force Band. I was the assistant superintendent of police up to the time I retired, and I was the deputy director of music from 2014 until 2018 upon my retirement.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And we're moving down the line.
Good evening to all. I am Reynold Fenelon, Inspector of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, now Deputy Director. I am taking over the post of my fellow colleague here. You know, I like to say happy anniversary to past members and also present.
Thank you very much for that. And we're moving, yes.
Good day to everybody. I am ASP Dylan St. Jules. Really happy to be part of this celebration. This is part of our 47th anniversary celebration, Royal St. Lucia Police Band. I must say, congratulations to everybody, past, present, and our fans out there.
And thank you very much, ASP St. Jules, for that. And I must admit that you have quite a large fan base, especially around Independence Day.
Yeah, this is one of our pivotal point for interacting with, especially the St. Lucian audience.
Definitely.
Well, I shouldn't just say St. Lucian, because when especially now, when the band come out for independence, it's something that people overseas look forward to seeing.
Definitely.
So now I must see maybe hello to everybody all over the world.
All over the world. Yeah. All over the world. Yeah. And as we go into this discussion, we're going to talk about some of the different roles that we have in the Royal St. Lucia Police Band. Of course, one of these roles being that of the drum major. And so I want to ask you, what is the role? What exactly does the role of the drum major entail, and how significant is that role to the Royal St. Lucia Police Band?
Okay, the role of the drum major is a very important and significant one, in that the drum major is responsible solely for giving miss commands and hand signals to the band on the march. Reason being, although the director of music is the one in charge of the police band, or in any band whatsoever, but on the march, the director of music focus is ahead of him. The drum major is the one to direct the band by way of hand signals or by the use of a mace. And let me just state briefly what the mace is. The mace is a piece of what we call bamboo, which is about 5 feet in length. Some will get 3 feet in length with metal tip and the crown. The crown would be based on your organization, whether you're from the Royal Marines, whether you're from the Army, whether you're from the police force. The crown would represent more or less your organization. And all the maces are designed in pretty much the same way. If the crown on top, the crown would represent the monarch as anything else. Now, if you, for example, a drum major who is probably 6 feet tall, 7 feet tall, would probably require a longer mace. So that would be custom made based on your height. The role of the drum major is, if the band, for example, the band is moving forward, at some point in time the band would be required to move to the right, move to the left, do an about turn. The drum major would signal to the band well in advance what direction that the band is about to take, and the band members would conform to his signal. I say his signal because most drum majors are male, but there are also female drum majors. So whether it's male or female, the band would conform to their hand signal or mace signal.
Do we have female drum majors presently in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force? Female? I mean, in the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, yes. Well, no. I mean, or do we have just one person specifically in that role right now?
For example, yes. The drum major in any organization is not someone that you change at will, or you change very easily.
Right. Okay.
Because one of the advantages in having a long-term drum major is that the band needs to get comfortable with the drum major and understand his hand signals. Because if you were to change drum majors ever so often, that would more or less confuse the band, the members of the band. So, for example, myself, I served as a drum major for 22 years.
Oh, that's a long time.
And it is not, Barbados, for example, has a drum major who served for at least about 25 years too. Drum majors are not persons that you change or you interchange that easily, because the band needs to get acquainted to the drum major, the hand signals and everything, and get accustomed to that. So almost like the band would it's like a hand in glove. The drum major and the band would be moving in that sequence.
But the drum major's role, the public gets to see a lot of the drum major's role during Independence. Aside from Independence Day preparation, because I'm assuming that it would probably, or training would probably last for just a few months prior to Independence. Does a drum major do something outside of leading the police band in the off season? In other words, are they part of do they play an instrument as well, or most times their role is centered around leading the band and they focus on that?
Yeah, it's interesting that you would ask that question, because during my tenure, I was the first drum major to actually come from within the ranks of the police band. Every other drum major came from outside of the police band. So persons were drawn in from either traffic department, either from the SSU, immigration, central police station. Reason being, in our situation, the director of music would be the one to select a drum major. How I became the drum major is because the drum major before me went overseas on a course. We had a very important parade coming up, and the drum major would not have been on island in time. And so then the director of music at the time, who was Rudolph Charles, asked me to stand in for the drum major, bearing in mind that I had not received any prior training in that field. It's true, I was very good at drills, because that is one of the criteria that one must possess to be an effective drum major. Right. You must know your drill. You must be acquainted in every fashion of drill. You must know it from top to bottom. And so I was selected. I did the parade successfully, I may add.
Yeah, obviously, because you stayed there for 22 years.
It was only after I had done that parade. It was an opening of assizes. It's only after I had done that parade, then I was sent over to Barbados, the Barbados Defense Force, to do my training under the direction of Warrant Officer Randolph Beckers. After that, I went back to Barbados like 2 years after to the Barbados Police Training School to do my second drum major's training in Barbados. I came out successfully, and I lived to fight until
definitely
20 years after.
2 years later.
That's pretty much what it is.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I'm again, like I said, this is very inspiring for me as a young musician, even as a singer myself. It's always just a pleasure just to hear so much about the Royal St. Lucia Police Band. And as we're talking about the Royal St. Lucia Police Band and the amount of years. Now, I think earlier we said, did you say 47 years or 74 years?
74.
Yeah, I think we had to correct that. So it's 74 years since this institution has been in existence, or rather we will be celebrating the anniversary on June 18th. June 18th, and then next year will be 75 years. So, Inspector Fenelon, to you, I want to ask, especially, of course, as a long-serving member of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, what would you say are the greatest or most significant evolutionary changes that have taken place over your tenure of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band?
Okay, joined the band in September of '83. That's a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't tell you my age, right?
No.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, that's my apprenticeship. And then I got appointed in the position in '89. Okay, so in those days it was really tough. It was tough under the directionship of Mr. Mintz, right? And to be there in the band, you had to be good at that time. You had to practice, you know. And one of the things in those days, it was all filled up. I mean, the ranks and structure of the band. You know, we did a bit of, I think the first tour we did was in, I can't remember what year was that, but we did that in Martinique. We went to Martinique. And then afterwards, I think we went to St. Vincent. And then, yeah. But one of the big highlights for me was when we went to Taiwan. We went to Taiwan, we got invited. And just the celebration and just the playing and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, it's an opportunity that you hardly get people saying that they go to Taiwan.
Right.
Okay, so that's one of the biggest
Would you say that the band travels more now or in the last decade than it did
in the
during...
last decade, in the last decade, because you're looking at for funds and stuff like that, you know? So we did that for Taiwan. It was such a successful event for us and stuff.
Awesome. That is extremely, because I remember seeing some clips about that Taiwan experience. The discussion is fluid, it's wonderful, but we must take a break at this time because I want to hear so much more of what these gentlemen have to say. So stick with us, we will be right back.
Dentist? Really? How was that? It wasn't bad. The dentist was really nice and she told me that mouth rinsing is very important for healthy teeth. How so? Rinsing with water gets rid of food in between your teeth, which can protect you from getting cavities. No, wait. So after I eat or drink anything, it's a good idea to rinse out my mouth with water? Yes! Make sure to spit out the water after rinsing because swallowing will only bring the germs into your body. Remember, water is an easy and cost-effective way to instantly boost your health and a healthy body to fight many diseases, including COVID-19.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We are here with members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, and we are talking about the 74-year tenure of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band. That is a long time. Some of our grandparents may have just been born when the Royal St. Lucia Police Band was formed. And just before the break, we were talking about the evolutionary changes that have taken place. We spoke, of course, about the fact that the band members are traveling a little bit more now because of the increased popularity. Now I want to ask even about women being a part of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band. ASP St. Jules, tell us about that. Tell us about how women, or when women started joined the Royal St. Lucia, or when they were allowed, and do we have any significant changes in terms of women being a part of the ranks of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band?
Yes, let me take this opportunity firstly to clear a myth. Okay? When I got appointed for my first interview, there was an inscription that says something about me making the band become better or whatever. I want the band to get better under my, but that is not to say that I do not acknowledge the people who have gone before.
Right, okay.
And as far as I'm concerned, when I was attracted to the band and I read about the history of the band, the Royal St. Lucia Police Band has always been a great institution for St. Lucia, if anything else. And this institution has been led by outstanding individuals from way back at the beginning, in 1947. Yeah. So in the era when the band started, there was this male dominance, and we saw that happen without the inclusion of female till 1991 thereabouts, under the directorship of the great Rudolph Toto Charles. Women were introduced into the band. 4 women came in as the first group of women. That was the first time we saw.
Are any of these women still serving now in the band?
Yes, we still have two of the original members with us.
Okay,
today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's no discrimination right now. So maybe the next thing you'll see is a female band director and a female drum major too.
Wow, very possible. Awesome. Because my understanding is that one of the ladies may be serving in a middle management.
Yes.
So she's climbing the ladder.
This year was saw for the first time. Since the inclusion of women, the rise coming from constable level to middle manager, a corporal. So Glennis Joseph is the outstanding individual who came up to move up to the rank of corporal.
Right. So St. Lucia.
So congratulations to you, Corporal Joseph.
And St. Lucians, of course, and that in and of itself is significant, because as you said, even while it began maybe male dominance, but the leaders saw the need for inclusion, and it's very important, especially in the times that we are living in, to be institutions of inclusion. But tell us though, how how does someone become a part of the St. Lucia Police Band? If you know, do you have to be a police officer? Does somebody who's just an ordinary citizen? Because the skills that the Royal St. Lucia Police Band teaches are very significant and important to our community. So how does someone become a part of that?
Well, the first thing is our band is the Royal St. Lucia Police Band.
Right.
So when you apply, you will be filling out the very form that an ordinary person who wants to join the force would sign up for. So everything that is required to join the force is in there. And you must understand, as part of the band, you are a full-fledged police officer.
Okay.
So you need to go through all the basics. As a matter of fact, there's a call now so that our members would do the initial police training, full police training, and then be brought back into the service to start the apprenticeship of music, fitting them into the system. So your requirement would be the basics to become a police officer, your 5.
Is there an age limit as well? Is there?
There is a cutoff.
Okay.
Right?
What is the cutoff?
18.
18.
Now I must make a connection. I must make a connection between the past and the present.
Right.
Okay. In the past, it wasn't hard and fast.
Right.
But now there are stipulations for individuals to be in school till about 17, 18 when they become an adult. Okay, so you will not be able to join the band, unlike before, until you are an adult.
All right. Okay.
Okay. And when you join the band, some people, the question that most people ask is, do you need musical skill? Musical skills would be an asset to join the band, but you can come in without musical skill because at the initial part of your training, you are taught the basics of the music up to a point where you are assigned a specific instrument and you develop through the system of the band.
Wow.
Yeah.
But is there an age that's too old? Because you may start at 18, but is there, if a 40-year-old says that he wants to be a part of, because I think there may be an age limit to join the police force. Is that, am I accurate in saying that?
Yes, 35 is the cutoff age.
So 35 is the cutoff age.
Yes.
So which means that, of course, if you're going to be a full-fledged police officer, you would in the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, then 35 is also the cutoff age for joining the police band as well.
Correct.
Okay.
But that doesn't stop you from becoming a musician if you want to be a musician.
Right.
And the band is dynamic too, and more than anything, we would like to be community friendly.
Right.
So people are encouraged to come in and see what we do.
Right.
Because of the pandemic now and the whole idea of social distancing, we have to be very careful how it is done. But we are a community band. We're there to serve the community.
Right.
And interactiveness with the community is what we're thriving for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. But you spoke about if it's not too late to be a musician. And we know, and for those of us who actually who know ASP Dylan St. Jules, when he's not in his royal regalia, I should say, he does have a stage name called D-Sax, and where he plays your principal instrument is a saxophone.
Correct.
Do you attribute your learning of the saxophone to your time in the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, or did you come into the band already knowing how to play the saxophone?
I came in with some experience, but the band coming in. Our institution is an institution of learning. The wealth of experience that is in the band is beyond any faculty. You understand? So I came in. I started on clarinet. At a very tender age. I started on clarinet. As a matter of fact, my brother, who was a member of the police band,
This is now.
The great Shacom bass,
Gordon
Leo. Yeah, he had a strong influence on my musical development, and I may have gotten some genetically. because my father is an avid classical guitarist. He's a harmonica player also. But in terms of being at home and being guided while I was trying to decide what I wanted to do, I will give the credit to my bigger brother.
Right.
And then because of his influence now with so many musicians around him, it was easy for me because he gave me, he opened the door to all the greats, Lucia Faswa, Ronald Bohingson. At the time, he played with True Tones, so I had full access to True Tones. You know, being a member of the band is a family, and when you come in, I came in as a young person, like a baby brother. Senior, because Steele might have been a big brother coming in, you know, and that's what it was. That was my genesis,
right.
You know. I mean, I did clarinet, and when my dad came, because my dad didn't know me not until I was conceived. I like to tell people I was conceived. I was conceived when my father left, so
right.
he didn't even see me when I was born,
right?
You know. And then when he came back, I was doing the clarinet, and he was at the time I was dabbling with learning to read music, and even while I wasn't a member of the band, I had influences from the band already guiding my learning process. So I would be there, and other members of the band would come and coach me. You know, this is how it is done. This is how it's done. So by the time I met my father, I think I was still at the Marshall Combined School. He was so impressed with what I was doing, and his suggestion was that I need to add on the saxophone. And he gifted me an alto saxophone.
Wow.
So when I did make that transition into the band, it was on alto saxophone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I must add in Robert, that the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, we're talking about persons coming in. We prefer to have the younger persons because that makes them receptive to music. I mean, we got somebody maybe about 17, 18, maybe about 20. That will make them receptive because you're not looking at persons that are already responsible and they have children, you know, because music, you know, you have to have the art for it. It doesn't take any person to be a musician. Sometimes you come in, but since it's an art, right, you need to have special persons.
Right.
And it's not an easy thing, you understand? So normally we encourage younger persons, like maybe about, you'll see maybe, to me, the cutoff point, if I have to look at it, maybe about 27. Because by the time you do the theoretical part of it, and then into the practical, it might take quite a while. It might take a few years.
We have about 1 minute left. And before that minute comes up, I want you to tell us, Mr. Steele, just a little about the history of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, how it started, and what do you think in terms of where it is today? Are you happy with where it is today? So just give us a little bit of that history.
Yeah, well, the history of the band started in June of 1947 with just 6 young boys, probably within the ages of 13, 14. Bearing in mind that they all came from the Anglican school, with the exception of Nathaniel Jemmett, who came from the RC Boys School. So Kirby John, the others all of them came from the Anglican school. So what happened is, the person who was responsible for training them was a Barbadian national who started with the Barbados Police Band, but he was seconded to Trinidad, and he was asked to come, or he was brought in to St. Lucia to train the 6 young boys for the role of musicians within the band. So within that time, he was in charge of the band until 1962. I'm talking about Sergeant Nathaniel Griffith. He was the bandmaster at the time. And he stayed in that position until 1962, where he went back to Barbados to join the Barbados Police Band. At that time, Inspector Randolph Bakers, who was a police officer, but who had some musical skill, was taken into the band to continue the work of Sergeant Griffith. So Mr. Beckles stayed in the band as a bandmaster until 1971. By that time, Mr. Carlos Means was doing the bandmaster's course in England. He left in 1968 to go to England to do the course. While he was in England, as a matter of fact, he was not even chosen to do the bandmaster's course. He went to England to do a one-year foundation course. And while he was there, he was so impressive that the school recommended him to do the bandmaster's course. Wow. So he stayed on for 3 years. He came back to St. Lucia in 1971. When he came back to St. Lucia, we saw a transformation in the band, both in orchestration and instrumentation. In that the old instruments that the band used under the command of Mr. Griffith and Mr. Bakers, Mr. Min sort of phased them out. Talking about the flutes, for example, the band used to use D flutes before, and D flat flutes, and Mr. Min changed that to the C flutes. He changed the French horns. The band used to use the horns in F before, and he brought in the E flat horns. For example, even the old bass trombones with the handle to get the 7th position, that was changed to a more flexible bass trombone where you have the F change at your thumb, instead of having to stretch all the way down to 7th position if you have a handle. Yeah. So Mr. Mins more or less changed all of that. Apart from that, Mr. Mins, he changed the repertoire of the band. At that time, you were beginning to hear a lot more like descants and so on within the music that we play. Apart from doing that, Mr. Mins also brought in the electronics. For example, he introduced the electric guitar to the band and the bass guitar. I don't know if you can remember a gentleman named Slade, who played the true tones in the old days. Mr. Mins was the one who brought him into the band to play the bass guitar. And you find out the music changed. You know, everything just became alive and well. Everything just became brighter, you know. And that is a sort of transformation that you expect in a new director of music. Yeah. You understand? Yeah. And it worked well for the band. Right. It was a wonderful transformation in all areas of the band, all aspects of the band, instrumentation, orchestration, and music. You understand? And unfortunately, sad to say, Mr. Mins passed away in 1991, and Mr. Rudolph Charles was recalled to the band in 1991. Like the ASP said earlier on, it was under his command that he introduced the women into the band. Right. Because the police band at the time was a male-dominated institution. There were only men in the band. And Rudolph Charles brought in the 4 women for the first time. However, while Mr. Charles was in command of the band, David Myers was in England studying to become the bandmaster of the police band. So when David Myers returned from England, Mr. Charles retired. David Myers took it to another level, I suppose, and he spent at least probably 10 years in command of the band upon his retirement, because the cutoff point with the police band, you cannot go past the age of 55 in the position. So as long as you're 55 years old, it is your cutoff point. Right. It is time to retire. Right. So somebody else will have to replace you. Whether there's a replacement for you or not, when your time comes, you have to go.
And talking about time, it's time for us to take a break. When we come back, as Mr. Steele spoke about that, the transitioning of different band directors, we are now aware that there is a new director, a new band director. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Virus ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together.
Often use hand sanitizer. Better yet, use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up. No, no.
Advice, give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Thank you again for joining us. Before our break, Mr. Steele was telling us about some of the changes that have taken place under the different directors previously or in the past. Presently, the Royal St. Lucia Police Band has a new band director, and of course that is none other than ASP Dylan St. Jules. Mr. St. Jules, first of all, congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you. Thank you kindly.
I want to ask, in light of again some of the evolutionary changes that have taken place over the years, of course, as a new director, you would have what your own vision would be for the band. What would you see is, or what would you see are some of the changes you would like to see happen moving forward? And of course, mentioning that would not necessarily be discrediting what has happened before, because as you rightly mentioned earlier, yes, the band has been doing exceptionally well. Of course, I am definitely a fan. So what would you see would be some of the things you would like to see happen with the Royal St. Lucia Police Band moving forward?
Yeah, I would like to start by building on what went on before under Mr. Steele. One of the things he did not mention was when Mr. Myers took over the helm, he had an interest in vocals. So he was able to merge the military band and vocals. He was big on that kind of thing. And I think when Mr. Piper came in also, he focused on a lot of Caribbean music, you know, and then under Timothy Mondesi, he brought us to a sort of modern era, you know. So it's like every director kept building and building and building, and now it's my turn. And I can tell you, if I'm given the powers now, I will swipe my wand and the pandemic will be gone. There'll be no COVID anymore. And then we'll go back to living our lives where the band could go out into the community and network with the people. I would like that. I like the level we have gotten to, especially we climax during independence, and then we see an interest growing back, you know, people dressing up, coming out to see us perform. For me, I would like it to happen throughout the year. Our interaction with the public, I would like to see it increase, and I would like us to be able to, well, in some ways going back to the old where we used to go out into the community, you know. We are definitely a younger band. We have some young, interesting guys. We're overzealous with music, you know. And now learning is it's necessary to do institutional learning, but the internet is fast forward in some of what we can do, you know. In this modern era, I would like to see the band go electronics, you know, in terms of using the technology to write out our music. I would hope we could do some recording, and more than anything else, right now we do not have a home. Sad to see, you know.
COVID. Tell us about that.
Because an institution like ours need a base.
Okay.
You know, I could imagine you coming to see us perform in our auditorium,
and especially as a music teacher, I can tell you one of the things I always want to inspire our children to play instruments. I talk to them about that all the time. Playing an instrument, getting a skill at a very early age, it would help you in so many different areas in your life. And to be able to bring them. So at this point, you're saying that we do not have the ability or the capacity to do that.
We do not. I believe that music can be used. Our main industry is tourism. We could invite the tourists to sit in our auditorium, our amphitheater, and blow them away. We travel all over all overseas, and we blow people away with the quality of music that we produce. You know, our displays. We can do that right here. You know, I mean, it's expensive to take us out, and when we're not out, we can still be producing something that is of world-class quality to present. You know, interacting with the young people, that would be. You know,
but sorry to cut you off. Sorry, my apologies. In terms of the size of the band, because you're talking about inspiring young people, you know, are you happy with the size? Would you like to see it grow bigger, or is there like a standard size that the police band must be?
Our band can grow and grow and keep growing. You know, it's like if they give us the necessary food, we can grow and grow and grow and grow. And you know, we can do incredulous things in St. Lucia. You know, maybe I look forward to a time when you'll have a southern band and a northern band. Wow. A 758 and a 759. You know, I would really like the band to reach a point where it can serve St. Lucia probably a little more than we do. You know, the pandemic is really slowing us down. Right. But hopefully everybody will do what is necessary. Right. Social distance, wear the mask when is necessary. Right. Vaccinate. You know, read about the vaccine, you know, and hopefully we can go back to the normalcy. In
terms of going back to the normalcy, again, earlier we mentioned 74 long years of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band. What's happening? What's going to happen in the next, how are we celebrating the 74 years? Can you tell us a little bit about what the plans are moving forward in terms of the celebrations?
Well, I'm a bacchanal man. don't let that uniform mislead you. I love party.
Right.
Unfortunately, the pandemic has locked us in, and there's so much we can do. There are a few little inside things that we are doing presently, and we'll climax that on the 18th, which is our celebratory date. And whatever we're doing is still a very small something, internal something, but we're also using this period as a platform for our milestone 75. Okay, we'll be celebrating our 75th anniversary come next year. Yeah. So we're using our anniversary date as the beginning of what we will be doing. Right. Okay.
In a few minutes, I want for us to talk about what is the schedule in terms of the practice schedule of the band, and of course, what does it take to be ready for a performance. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But before we talk about that, I want to introduce to you another guest who has now joined the panel. And for those of you who don't know him, you may know his moves, because his moves are well known across the globe. And I am talking about none other than the current drum major, Mr. Gideon Daisy, Corporal Gideon Daisy. Mr. Daisy, welcome.
Thanks
welcome to our panel. Mr. Daisy,
yes.
You are renowned. You are a famous drum major, and some of your fame developed after, you know, I think it was Independence Day 2019, I believe, where videos of you were circulating all over the globe, I should say, of you leading the St. Lucia. I believe was it Dominica that came? There was another group that came down.
Dominican.
Yeah, it was a Dominican, and I remember seeing some videos of you and the other drum major as well. But you have been known in some instances as the dancing drum major.
That's correct.
Tell us about you know, how do you prepare for you know, in terms of, do you choreograph, or does it just come naturally when you're on the parade?
Well, naturally, as a musician myself, I play the trombone. Basically, having music embedded within you, it gives you that entire mood, the vibe. So you know that based on your pieces for the day, if it's of a solemn type, or, you know, of a more hyped up type, you know, your body would definitely react. So with our introducing our local pieces,
right,
but such as our, you know, our little carnival songs and whatnot have you, it basically gives you that little hype, you know. So it's more or less like having carnival back in February rather than July. But it actually gives us that opportunity to again build that bridge with our citizens in St. Lucia, because we have to make them remember that though we are the law enforcement agency in St. Lucia, we are not above them or anything away from them. So we need to show them that we are still part of them. And again, with all this, you know, as a musician, it just comes in naturally, and you just go with that flow and allow the notes to take you away.
Well, listen, it has been, I mean, over the last few years, I think the Royal St. Lucia Police Band also has gained some fame, an additional fame, I should say, from your moves. We'll talk a little bit more about your you being a part of or you being the new drum major, and then we'll also move to that discussion that we said earlier. But we'll do that after the break. Please stick around with us.
We can win this war. Get vaccinated, taking our life back. Get vaccinated, we know what to do. Get vaccinated, COVID-19 we won't lose to you. Oh no, take 2 doses, take our life back. Time for a brand new day. Take 2 doses, take our life back. To live and work and play. Take 2 doses, take our life back. The health experts we trust. Take 2 doses, take our life back. Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us.
Let's take our life back with the safe and effective AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The mobile vaccination drive is coming to you. Visit the Ministry of Health and Wellness and Bureau of Health Education Facebook pages for more information. Let's take our life back. Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us.
Get vaccinated.
This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness and this station.
We are back. You are back with us, and we are happy for that. Before the break, we were talking with the dancing drum major. We were talking about that battle between yourself and the Dominican drum major. Or rather, we wanted to mention that. That was not choreographed, was it? I remember it happened somewhere near what we call the park, Serenity Park, which is now a new name. But it happened somewhere around there. I remember that was not choreographed. Tell us about that. How did that end up happening?
Actually, that was the second phase of the parade when
it was.
All the different organizations were putting on a display. So basically, we ourselves had to put on the display for the people. So I just spoke with him and let's told him let's go with
the flow.
Yeah, and that was it.
And it happened.
Yes, as Caribbean people, we have it in our blood.
Yeah. How's that fame impacted your life? How has have you had people just come up to you or try to take pictures with you?
Can I just drop in a little something before he goes? Gideon Daisy has become famous because we traveled to Barbados, and when we got into Barbados, we were preparing, because like Mr. Steele said earlier, Nathaniel Griffith, who led St. Lucia, started off the band in St. Lucia, was seconded from Barbados to Trinidad, and we celebrated him as an individual by bringing in the Trinidadian band, and we St. Lucians, we went to Barbados to have a celebration. And when we went in, Gideon was already known. He was so famous out there. The guys even knew specific moves he would choreograph on while marching on Independence Day.
Wow. Yeah, he is. I don't doubt that, because a lot of people have spoken about that. But yeah, you were telling us, will you be? Do people just stop you, want to take pictures with you? You know, how has that particular independence? How has that changed your life?
Well, basically, yeah, a lot more people have been, you know, approaching. And, you know, sometimes you might just be on your ordinary business when you're at the market or running by the beach, and everybody's saying, yes, but that's him, you know. There was, up to this morning, I was taking a nice little run by the beach, and this man, you know, was saying, yeah, that's you. So, you know, let me have a quick photo, because I think he was supposed to travel today, you know. So, yeah, actually, it has basically changed my entire you know, vision.
And let me also make mention, he's the man of the cloth.
Yeah, he's a man.
Yes, definitely.
So he's the dancing religious man.
Definitely.
All right, so and you're going to be continuing, I'm assuming, in that vein of entertaining the solutions, because I think now it's something that people are actually looking forward to coming to when the Royal St. Lucia Police Band comes out at Independence. You plan to continue entertaining and being that
but
pillar.
You know, every moment has its
own. Yes.
So you're not that for a funeral, you know, or for, you know, some state function, but basically, you know, our little segment off the road after parade, you know, because actually, just a brief history of our parades. Well, I am a certified drill instructor, so when the armies will have basically returned home upon having a victory at any battle, they will have had a parade throughout their city. Okay, so if you will, let's say, for example, you were fighting war in Grenada, but you're from St. Lucia and we won. So by the time we got back home to St. Lucia, we'll have had this victory parade all around the city, you know, just to let people know that we were actually victorious in our battle. So basically, a parade is to alert people of your pride, your happiness, and your victory. So us having this this parade, especially now for independence obviously attaining, you know, our own leadership from Great Britain. So it gives us that moment to rejoice, to celebrate. So basically, this is why all this was incorporated for that occasion.
Well, I can say, I believe there are a lot of young people now who really look at you as a role model and look at you as a form of inspiration as well. So keep up the great work. In fact, all three of you keep up the great work. Mr. Fenelon, can you tell me about what you would consider to be one of your pivotal memories, or your, you know, that moment in the St. Lucia, the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, that you just cannot seem to forget or get out of your mind? It has such a euphoric moment. Tell us about that.
Let me tell you. Okay, normally every year we celebrate, we call it the Parade of Buglers, November. That's Remembrance Day. And it so happened that I am a first cornet, solo cornet player in the line together with our ex-ASP Curtis Steele. Former Curtis Steele. It so happened that that day our last director, Timothy Mondesi, was out at school, right? He went to do the bandmaster's course. And the thing happened that I was left only solo cornet player on that day.
Wow.
So what I did, I asked the Lord to help me. I couldn't bail off. I said, Lord, please help me. I can't do it alone. You understand? Because we had the descants, we had the fanfares, and my humble servant there, I figured out that Curtis Steele, he would have been assistant, but he went to hold the mace.
Yeah, he was
the mace man at the drum major at the time. I say, oh gosh, right. So I had to go then, you know, take my licks, but praise be to God, at that time we had Director Piper. I did it flawless. We had the last post, we had the fanfares, and it was. And then when I finished, I said, praise be to God.
Yeah.
But I lose weight on the parade. You know, I lost some weight, but I could remember that moment. I went through the storm. I battled the storm.
Definitely,
you know?
definitely.
And I will always remember that time.
Awesome, awesome.
Okay.
We will be wrapping up shortly. I want to give more or less the final words to the current band director. Again, you have now taken up that leadership. You said one of the things that are critical is not having a space to practice. So in terms of preparations, how does that happen presently? And what would you say if you had to make a pitch to the powers that be in terms of you wanting to fulfill or rather all the goals that you want to fulfill? If you had to make a pitch to the powers that be, how would you go about doing that right now, especially in light of the fact that you do not have a space to practice, or not, sorry, a place to call home, I should say, presently?
The band music is the alternative to developing youth, the youth. You know, since St. Lucia that is now being challenged as it relates to how the youth are handling themselves. I think the answer is music. I think if enough is invested in the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, we can make a dent in terms of assisting in building the younger people of St. Lucia. More than anything else, I think we should be given that platform to positively help change St. Lucia youth positively. That is where I would like the focus to be, you know? Yeah.
Awesome, and I quite agree with you. Because again, like I said, as a music teacher, what you're saying is so spot on. St. Lucia, you have listened to us for the last few minutes. The discussion, the panel has been a very, very well-informed panel, and they have shared with you a lot of the history of the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, a lot of their plans moving forward. We would like to again inform you that on June 18th, the Royal St. Lucia Police Band will be celebrating 74 years in existence, or of existence, and we would like to continue to admonish you, or rather to support the Royal St. Lucia Police Band, support the endeavors. As you know, as the ASP said, he wants to have a greater interaction with the community. So as soon as COVID is over, I can tell you it appears that the Royal St. Lucia Police Band will be seen more in the communities if ASP and the band director Dylan St. Jules, if his goals and his objectives are fulfilled. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be a part of the discussion. Gentlemen, I would like to say thank you so much, and of course to Mr. Steele, who has stepped off the set. I would like to say thank you so much for taking time to come and enlighten the public, enlighten us with regards or regarding this great institution, the Royal St. Lucia Police Band. And I would like to admonish you all to keep doing the great work that you have done. You have inspired a lot of young people. You have inspired myself. And so, again, keep doing the great work that you have been doing. This has been our discussion this afternoon. Thank you once again for joining us, and we'll see you at our next time.